In this episode, I want to talk about what's going on today. I think I have to call it the collapse of the world as we know it. Without being too dramatic, guys, I really believe this is what's happening, although it is not negative. Anyway, the way I will present this, I think it will talk about why you might be feeling the way you feel in the words that we have today, why this might be caused, and the remedy, I believe, is the best thing to help navigate the chaos of today. So let's start with what's going on. What's going on is basically we're witnessing the collapse of the structures as we've known them. We can experience a lot of disillusionment as it happens because the value system that these structures that we're familiar with, so governments, systems, paradigms, ethics, so the work ethic, for example, the politics, the current affairs, the systems like retirement system, the currency that is assigned to some countries, the social structures, the way we behave, the way we lead our days, so working from this hour to this hour, going to school before that so that you assure you have good education to get the best job you can so that you can reap rewards of working in that job. So all those things are kind of feeling very shaky during these times, because it already started in COVID that we started seeing actually the efforts that we've been putting, they don't get us to where we hoped we would be. Basically, there is a whole great resignation coming to place and surfacing in the lives of people because they see, wow, okay, I've worked decades and decades of my life and here I'm getting fired out of nowhere. Or maybe I'm getting some sort of other problems, minus, of course, the health problems that came up during this time. But generally, starting from COVID until now, where we see this global crisis, power crisis, energy crisis, and maybe we'll be facing food shortages as it's already showing up in some parts of the world, and the disruption of the supply chain in serving all the masses. And with all that, we are part of the society, meaning we work, we contribute, and to work we of course have to go through educational system. And then the next generation is the retirees, who are also left oftentimes now in uncertain place because of the high rising prices. And in some countries we see actually cuts in retirement income that people get, which make them feel unsafe. But anyway, I'm talking about this whole landscape as in sort of context to describe what we are seeing. In another video I might be talking about actually another level to it that I am seeing besides the material, the physical realm that I just described. There's also another realm that is kind of forking out from this path. But for the purpose of this video, I'm talking about the landscape that we can observe, and maybe you can observe if you watch the news. I do not watch news, but I'm familiar with those aspects. And how this might be making you feel, how this makes many people feel, and the moods that it creates that result from the chaos which I just described. Honestly, I think many people are either feeling greatly disillusioned, disappointed with not being able to see the rewards, and they are not able to predict based on the things that we've been taught in the past. If you go to school, you get a great job, you will get these rewards. Maybe you will get status in your society, maybe you will go on amazing holidays, you can get all sorts of nice things, and then in the end you will have nice and peaceful retirement. But now what we're seeing is not fitting in the script that we've been brainwashed with to make us rely on it. Actually, the way this story goes is you did all the things and now you're getting screwed. This is what many people are experiencing, and this, as I started saying, can cause a lot of disillusionment, can cause a lot of bitterness, can cause a lot of fear, fright, uncertainty, and actually it can be infuriating to any person if they are able to notice their emotion in relationship to the larger landscape of what's going on. Otherwise, we are feeling lost. Many people are feeling lost collectively, and the level of unrest that's going on adds, because it's not just you, it's many people, that collectively causes a lot of tension and polarity between people. People start turning against one another, and they are actually turned against one another through media. I'm not sure if you're able to observe how, and of course, you know, media has played its own role in polarizing and disrupting people, increasing fear, increasing actually rage in people because of the news they serve. I'm not going now in the whole aspect of news playing the role, the news and media playing the role in this disruption, which I might do in a future video. But for now, I just wanted to really kind of detour through this, because knowing about these outlets of media, we know how many people are tapped onto them and are steered and are manipulated and are actually hijacked into reacting through the triggers of this fear and rage onto people like yourself. So I just wanted to create this, that you're not as isolated in this state. There's masses and masses of people that feel the same way. And that feeds back to make you feel more of that, because you get to see people more frustrated if you commute. You get to see people more nervous, more short-tempered at work. And the scarcity mindset of people that are in that fear state makes them feel more likely to betray another human being, stand you up, to throw you in front of a bus, you know, because the scarcity mindset, this is what it does to people. It makes them feel like they're on their own, they're isolated, and they have to do no matter what to feel secure through getting more things, maybe getting more money, getting that next promotion, feeling more secure at their job, maybe cheating someone in getting something, or getting, I don't know, I'm just out of examples. But anyway, you know the drill. Anyway, if you are feeling part of this collective, you feel that way, you feel disillusioned, you feel resigned, you feel out of control, really, in this chaos and uncertainty. And you might be feeling cheated and betrayed if you can observe what I just described. Because from childhood, we are being brainwashed, or we have been brainwashed, to believe that once you follow this script that they give you, you will be good, you will be secure, you will be safe, you will be finding love, you will be recognized, you will be acknowledged, and maybe you will get the status and other material rewards from following this paradigm of how the world has worked. Once you comply, once you follow those rules and obey the norms of culture and society that it's built for you. And we signed up to this unwillingly because we just grew up in it. And now, as you see, these things don't work. The money loses its value in front of our eyes. There is rising inflation. You can get less things for the same money. You are not certain about the job any longer because despite all the years of studies or the experience you have, you don't know. You simply don't know. And I thought it is important to describe the landscape of feelings and emotions that might be predominating, because you guys, there is so many people that can't describe how they feel and can't navigate how they feel because of that. If you don't know how you're feeling and where is that placed in the context of what's going on, you can't do anything about this. That's why people are so lost. That's why you see a lot of polarity. People are fighting with one another. There is chaos in society. And many of these things happen because people can't process their emotions. They're not familiar with their emotions. And therefore they cannot do anything about how they feel. This is the crux of so many problems. And that kind of takes me into talking about the remedy, starting to talk about the remedy to all that. The remedy will be built upon another layer I want to describe to you. We are, most of us, externally validated. Because of the way we've been raised in society, we've been placing authority and the navigation of our life to the script. I call it the script, you've noticed. The script of how the life follows, the trajectory of what should be done so that we are feeling safe, secure, recognized, fulfilled. But all those things, notice, are short-lived. Now, if everything is collapsing on the outside, you see how the interior of your landscape, your inner world, is collapsing alongside. And this happens because we are, like I mentioned, externally validated. So we go to the work, we get recognized, we get degrees in our schools. All of these things tell us about how we perform within the script that we were given. So we get feedback from those external structures, systems, and roles that we were put in, so that we know if we are on the right track to fulfill our script, to play it well. And now that, so many things are revealing themselves, so systems, politics, politicians are being revealed to be lying, the currencies are revealed to be correlated to things that are falling down and collapsing, therefore they're losing their value. And our value system of what is worth doing, maybe the ethos of work, for example, as in our value systems, all these things are crumbling, they're just falling to pieces. Because if our psyche and our value system was correlated to those outside things, such as net worth of a human being, which I still can't get over, and I will probably want to get over in my whole life, and I mentioned this before, you see how when the outside structures are crumbling and you are always relating to them and attaching your meaning about yourself, your identity that was defined through how you perform in that society. It's kind of a Truman Show moment, I guess, where you see everything was a lie. And you find yourself living the life that is a lie, that has been a lie. And you just see how it's all collapsing, but because you are so attached to the identity, the status, no one ever praises you anymore for being this and that, because they're so self-concerned about surviving and getting through to the next thing, because of that scarcity now that is caused by the chaos of the global collapse. As I explained to you, when our self-worth was attached and was propped up by all those external things, you might also observe how in the last moment of not wanting to believe, not wanting to let the illusion out of your life, you or other people might be grasping even harder to hold on to this illusion. As I mentioned, some people might be even more into hoarding or getting more of the things, getting maybe as rich as they can now, or maybe cheating someone, going to extreme lengths to hold on to the illusion of that, what I will call past. I don't believe the world that we had seen will manage to go back to what it was ever again. I know it sounds dramatic, but this is what I feel, and I go by how I feel. This is bringing us to the point of rebirth. The collapse of the system is actually the very space that opens up potential for infinite creativity. In the mythology of creation in Genesis, we learn how void, how chaos is the source of life, is the source of the new beginning. And the science tells us the same thing. There is no end without the beginning. One comes out of the other. And now, as so many things fall to pieces, it will make us create new things. It will make us create new systems. It will make us rethink things, how they worked. But this is not the remedy. Remedy starts somewhere else. When we've been so related, so attached, and so kind of built by the outside structures, as I described, your ego, your psyche, your identity, your sense of worth, all were attached and associated with various elements of the structures that are collapsing. That makes us fall onto the barren land of, it's basically becoming a wasteland, so to speak. And you become ungrounded because of that. If all the things that were building you up collapsed, you start floating up into the thin air because nothing's holding you down anymore. Nothing is certain. Nothing will tell you that people will still recognize you. You will still be worth something in your society when everything collapses. Your money will not be worth what it was worth a year ago. You might not even be able to buy the things you need. And maybe the friends or some other folks will reveal their faces and show you that you cannot rely on them anymore. You see how this might make you feel lonely and isolated. And a person who was really attached and never developed their core self will be greatly disappointed and lost and maybe even depressed in that landscape of the wasteland. So again, and this time I will be talking about what I think is the remedy. The remedy is, if one hasn't built their inner core, this is the time to invest in building your inner core self that will help you navigate this landscape of uncertainty. What do I mean by this? When I talk about this inner core self, I mean things like inner sense of worth that leads you to self-validation, the inner authority of making decisions, the inner sense of knowing and intuition that comes from cultivating that inner aspect that holds you flexible but grounded wherever you are. I just want to describe to you a little bit how I use this in my life, because I'm really grateful that I have invested in this aspect of me, and it really is alive in every single one of us, but we're so detached from it from early in the childhood. So the way it looks, it manifests in my life is, I had a lot of disruption in my life that started even earlier, before the whole global unrest and crisis has occurred, or alongside. And I lost people, dear people. I lost a lot of finances. I lost home. For a few months, I didn't even know, not the home where I would live, the country I would live. It was extreme. And I was also very, my mind body became out of balance because of this. So my cognitive senses, my cognitive way of making decisions based on thinking how I was used to doing things, was very impaired. I was foggy and confused, and basically I was traumatized by the amount of loss and grief that happened in my life. But I still had to move on. I couldn't fall to pieces because I didn't have space for it. I had to make decisions and I had to take actions. And can you imagine how, with the foggy and unclear mind, the decision-making process is very, like I said, impaired. So what I held on to was my intuition. And I was guided by my inner knowing into choosing things against the old odds, against the odds. Despite of what I saw and might be thinking was correct, despite of what other people told me I might be doing, I still chose based on heart. I still chose in all that uncertainty, in not having finances, in not having home, in not having support system in terms of people, being on my own and being sick, like virtually my mind was sick. I was still moving on, taking bold, risky choices as moving countries, as going somewhere into not knowing where that would be, where I would live, if I would have any support system, if I would meet nice people, if I would, have money. I would still, despite of everything I saw, despite all the information I would in the past analyze and produce decision based upon, I was using that inner core self and validated my inner authority. In the script, as I described to you, the most common way that people have is placing authority onto external forces, governments, authorities like doctors, specialists, whoever might tell you that thing is good for you, or maybe following trends, maybe following certain ways of being that is a sort of authority, even if it's not authority figure, but it's an authority in the realm of believing. We buy into a certain belief that is an outside authority because we never discerned about it. We never decided that it's the right thing to do. When you develop the inner authority, you can make bold choices that you feel that are good for you, regardless of what's going on the outside. And this is why I think this is the remedy. If you build enough of inner worth and self-belief in your own judgment, when everything falls into pieces on the outside as it does now, you can still navigate the world in the way that is the most aligned for you and fulfilling your needs. Also in respect of relating to other people with kindness and generosity, because this is in alignment with me. So once you tap into what you already have, because you already do have this, you just have to cultivate this, you will get the power of peace and knowing, regardless of everything, all the chaos that's going on around you. And you can still use it as a sort of inner compass. I'm pointing onto my body for the specific reason, because the inner knowing, the intuition, most often comes from the body and from the sensing and from the knowing that doesn't come from here. For this stage in my life, I'm experimenting, and I have been experimenting into getting into the flow of life in alignment with myself, both in myself and in the cosmos at large, so that I feel guided by the invisible which is connected to my inner self. It may sound a little bit complicated in the beginning, and of course I cannot give you in this short video all the ways how you should practice this, or you could practice this, but of course the way to develop your self-worth, you can follow any number of ways that you feel called to practice. And spirituality is one of the ways how you can tap into your inner knowing, intuition that is connected to the invisible realm of knowing and navigating your life in the way that's best for you. But one caveat here, when I talk about spirituality, I really have to throw in a caveat, because so many people rely on the spirituality as in the same way people place authority in their governments, in their systems, in their currency systems, in their whatever, as I described. People tend to place their authority and outsource it to spiritual figures, gurus, books, modalities, which again pull them further away from their inner gauge, the instrument that is themselves. You are your own gauge, you are your own instrument of recognition, validation, authority, and knowing. Of course, there is a lot of great knowledge outside that we can use, but I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about your inner GPS and how to navigate when everything is up in the air, right? So be cautious what you follow and how you follow any sort of modalities, gurus, spiritual figures, for that reason of developing your inner authority, so that you by mistake don't give away your power to someone else, and develop it as much as you can from within. I just want to make sure you remember, you never lost this skill. You never lost this skill, but you forgot how to use it. You were never probably taught how to use it consciously with any sort of awareness. That's why doing this as an experiment, trying this in your life, testing in the situations where you don't have that much to lose, maybe an experiment by using your inner self, your inner knowing, your intuition is the best way to start. So that you get enough feedback, you get enough evidence, and you get more confidence in using that gauge, that instrument that allows us to navigate the world without outsourcing the authority to any figure outside that the next day will be revealed to have been lying. Okay, so just test it and know that, you know, we have been brainwashed from early childhood. We were put on this conveyor belt. We were outsourcing our authority to someone else, but you never lost it. And I encourage you after this video that you reflect on the things I talked about, how you navigated your life, the things that you were disillusioned about, the resignation that comes through this, and allow yourself first to process the grief and the sadness that might come out from thinking about this, because we've lost a lot, and that really deserves honoring, that really deserves some space. I really wanted to throw that in, because people are very rush and quick to move on to the next stages. Yes, you can start developing your inner self, your inner intuition and things like that, but don't forget to honor the feelings that come with the sense of grief and loss and betrayal, maybe in the beliefs that you had before, but you have to give up on them because they are no longer true. They show to be no longer true. So I'll leave you to it, and hopefully see you in the next episode.